We also have other types of aphasia which we will now discuss. Other aphasias include pure word deafness, corpus callosum, and alexia. Now, by looking at the cases that we have discussed earlier, one gets the feeling that maybe the language functions may be broken down quite selectively, with comprehension damage and not the production one, or just the opposite. But it is not the case. Different types have different consequences and different characteristics. Now, in pure word deafness, disruption of inputs to 1x area result in an inability to understand speech. Then we have corpus callosum, where the corpus callosum connects the left side of the brain to the right side. Now, each side being known as a hemisphere. So, any damage which is done in this particular area can result into further language impairment. Alexia is pure. Alexia refers to the inability to read. So now we will discuss all these three in detail. Behaviorally, when we are talking about pure word deafness, such individuals are unable to comprehend language in the auditory modality, although they are still capable of comprehending visual language and producing language in either modality. Anatomically, there is damage to the auditory nerve, which sends messages to the auditory center in the left hemisphere. In addition, there is a loss of those portions of the corpus callosum. Now, functionally, the corpus callosum is closely related to the language function. Several studies have suggested that corpus callosum injury would lead to aphasia. Now, in other words, damage in the left hemisphere language area will give rise to diaxis between the bilateral cerebral cortices. Now, the corpus callosum, which basically the thick band of fibers that connect the two hemispheres, that send messages from the auditory region in the right hemisphere to language area, particularly 1x area in the left hemisphere. The result is that neither the left nor the right auditory center can transmit information to the language regions. So even though patients can hear some words, they cannot comprehend. Another interesting form of aphasia is called alexia. Alexia is the one which is the disassociation, or you can say disconnection of the visual regions from the language areas. In its most severe form, alexia prevents even the recognition of individual letters or matching of the script and print. Damage to the angular gyrus leads to both alexia and agraphia, which is basically the ability, which hinders the ability to write. So this is basically the inability to write. It is thought that the angular gyrus serves as an association area in the brain that connects one region with another. In particular, it is important for the association of visual stimuli with linguistic symbols, which influences both reading and writing. Alexia also sometimes occurs without agraphia. In one case reported by Geschwind, damage to the visual cortex on the left side was coupled with an injury to the portion of the corpus callosum that connected an intact right visual area with the language areas on the left. So we have pure word deafness, and we have corpus callosum, and then we have alexia. So there are also different types of aphasia which actually result into different deficits, and people suffering from these types have different or unique way of processing language and facing problems. To sum up, Good Class has pointed out most aphasic patients are impaired in many aspects of language, so that what distinguishes one type from another is the relative impairment in various linguistic functions. So all these different types reflect impairment in the functions of language in a multiple manner.